Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, in the last class, we studied about various industrial engineering functions. So we studied various studies that are being conducted and various functions we looked at. Then we looked at the applications of wherever the industrial engineering was being applied. So these are all which I took in the last class. Today we are going to study about design function. So what is the design function? Last class we studied about the function of industrial engineering. So now we are going to study about the function of design. Okay. So a major characteristics of a design is its function. And what is the designing actually? So we are going to design a product. A product is being to manufacture a product. First, we are taking the feedback of consumer. Many consumers will be there, and they will be notifying us of a problem, or they will give us some problems faced in that area. So one of the example, if I say, is that there is a requirement for carrying a chair to each location that we are going. Okay, one person is traveling from one place to another and he keeps on traveling. So for that person, he needs a chair that can be gone to or taken to each places. So for that purpose, a foldable chair is invented. Okay, for that purpose, a foldable chair was invented, and such a chair can be transported to each places. So the problem is he has to obtain a chair that can be taken to one place to another. Okay, and for that purpose, first we have to design the chair. After deciding, we are looking for various tests to be conducted on the design so that it can satisfy the requirement of the consumer and does not fail during multiple foldable action. So you are folding it up, then unfolding, folding and unfolding. This action is done multiple times. So it is tested for durability during this foldable and unfolding action. So that is one of the example. So that is what is designing. So the function of designing is the major function inside an industrial engineering. So a product a product design has to perform numerous functions based on the type of the product. So if you are designing a product, it has to perform numerous functions, maybe during a period of time or due to multiple application. The product has to has to perform the functions based on the design. So the product should serve the purpose for which it is designed. It should serve the purpose it is designed for, or else it is a complete failure. So if you are designing a foldable chair, if it fails under a certain load or fails under certain operation, then it is stated to be a failure. So we have to design it in a sufficient way so as the foldable chair or the product does not fail and it serves the purpose of which it is designed for. Next, the product should possess those specific characteristics of the performance that satisfy the need of the customer. So if a customer gives us the need, so here the need was a foldable chair that can be taken to a place of travel. So if he gives us that needs, the product should satisfy the characteristics or perform that need. That is what is the function of designing. Then functions or sets of functions may be derived or generated from the customer needs. So there will be one function or even multiple functions. Okay, we are taking the feedback or the needs of multiple customers, and we are looking for what all functions it has to perform. So for that purpose, so in a foldable chair, there will be an accessory for keeping various objects, maybe a glass or something like that. So there are multiple functions. It functions as a holder for a cup holder, and also folding the chair. So it can be taken to multiple places. So that is multiple functions. Next, the design engineering has to establish which functions has to be performed before we can spew how well they must be performed. So first the functions that has to be performed has to be established. Then the engineering designs it to perform all these functions. So it is, and this complete functions has to be included into the designing engineering. Then the engineering functions deal with the technical functionality of the product. And in engineering design, functions can be classified into two basic categories. Into two categories. One is basic function and second is secondary function. So what are basic functions and secondary functions? So a basic function is the primary purpose for which the item or service is designed when it is operated in a normally prescribed manner. So when taking the example of a foldable chair, the primary function of the foldable chair is to take or transport the chair to wherever we are going. So that is a main function. So once you can fold it, you can fit it easily inside the cargo because of the foldable capability of the chair. So that is the basic function of that chair. Okay, and other functions that I had told you about, that is a cup holder, providing a cushion, etc., are secondary functions. So you can see a basic function is the primary purpose for which it is designed. This function is accomplished to meet the purpose of the product, structure, or service. So it is, the product is designed basically on the base of basic function, and then accessories are added into the primary product to produce secondary function. Okay, that is how it is. A product is designed, and a product or service may have more than one basic function. So it is not shortlisted to one function itself, but multiple functions may be present. Okay, one object can be used for multiple function. So what are secondary functions? Secondary functions are the ones that support the basic function and hence are sometimes referred to as support functions. So they support, they are a supporting, they do a supporting role and um, and they support the primary functions. Hence, they are also named as support functions. So if you are taking a packet shown here, okay, maybe a biscuit packet, a toothpaste packet, and etc. So the primary function of the packet is to hold the object that is going to be kept here. Okay, and one of the secondary function that can be provided is that you have seen in a cover like this, maybe if it's a biscuit or anything, if you are viewing from this side, okay, the side which you are not visible here, it is the other side, maybe they will provide a film, okay, a transparent film. The purpose of that film is nothing but to show us the quality of the product inside, maybe a toothbrush, a soap, even a biscuit, food packaging, etc. So the function is that just to show us that product or the quality of the product, or even it's a gimmick. It can be shown as a attractive piece. So for that purpose, that film is provided, and that is secondary function. The primary function was to hold the product inside this cover. That is a function of primary function or basic function. The other one was secondary function. And secondary function are again subclassified to required and unwanted functions. So there are both type of functions. One is required function and other one is unwanted function. So what is required function? in required secondary function are needed for the basic function to be accomplished and are termed as secondary function. So one of the example is that if you are taking an LCD projector, okay, we are converting the energy that is in the means of electricity, and we are converting that electricity into light. So generation of light is happening. So if you are taking an LCD projector or even an LCD TV, if you are taking, you are converting the electrical energy that we are obtaining from uh, our household, and then we are converting it and generating light to publish the various pictures in the LCD screen. Okay, that is a required function of the product. So that is a required function. So what is unwanted secondary function? In unwanted secondary functions, they are undesired byproducts of either the basic or secondary function. They are the undesired byproducts of basic or secondary functions and are termed as unwanted secondary functions. So an example is that if you are taking that LCD projector or TV, we know over multiple use or during a longer period of use, it will generate heat, noise, etc. So these are all byproducts of that working of the product. They are byproducts. So of for longer periods of use, the LCD TV or the projector can generate heat and also maybe noise. Okay, this is an unwanted secondary function. So these are inbuilt into the product and these are byproducts. So it can't be avoided, but these are unwanted secondary functions. Okay, so that are the functions of designing. Next, we are moving on to the objectives of product design. So what are the objectives of product design? So first of all, a product design involves these processes. So first one is empathize, then define, then ideate, prototype, and then testing. So first, the empathize, we are dealing with the consumer feedback and the needs of the consumer. So the problem is identified and then it is defined. So we are identifying the problem by the feedbacks from the consumer, that is under empathize, and then we are defining the problem or the problem statement is created. Then we are formulating various ideas to solve this particular defined problem. So that is coming under ideate, and then on basis of that idea, a design is created and a prototype is made. So and this prototype is then tested under various conditions, and then finally it is produced. So these are the this is how the product design is categorized. These are the fields that are involved in product design. So what are objectives? The first objective is that the overall objective of product design is profit generation. So that is the primary function of the product. If an industry is looking for designing a product and then manufacturing it, the primary aim is for profit generation in the long run. So a product has to be manufactured for a particular period, and it's called the product life cycle. And in that life cycle, a profit generation must take place in the long run. Then the next comes the essence of the product is to satisfy customer requirements. So we have to satisfy the customer requirement. Various customer requirements are there. A product can perform multiple functions according to the customer needs. Okay, then to achieve the desired product quality. So for various functions, each product has different product quality. So for a longer period of run, the product quality must be higher so as to serve the function for a longer period of time. While others that are such as a disposable brushes, even shaving blades, etc., these are all uh, disposable, so they can be used for a smaller duration of time. Hence, the product quality can be or cannot be that much better. Okay, it can be kept at a minimum, but still for the purpose of use, the product quality or the desired product quality is maintained. So that is one of another objective of product design. Then the next comes the design should enable the product to perform its desired function with desired accuracy, reliability, and strength. So these are 3 points: desired accuracy, reliability, and strength. So it must not fail under the load that it has to withstand, and it must perform the job accuracy without any faults, and it should be reliable for multiple operations. For that purpose, the design should be done in a product. Then the next point comes under the design should allow the product to be used easily with minimum possible fatigue. So what is fatigue? Fatigue means under loading, after a particular load, it fails. So if you are providing a small load itself, if it fails, then the product is said to be not up to the quality, or it will not be undesirable, it will be not desirable for the people, and hence the product will be disposed. So the design should allow the product to have minimum possible fatigue. So it must not fail even under a particular load, but every object fails if you are giving it a fatigue load, but still it is designed in a manner so as uh, not to break, or not to break under smaller loads. So that is how the design has to be done. That is one of the objective of the design. Then the next objective should be to allow the product to be used with minimum noise, vibration, and other hazards. So if you are having a particular instrument and it is keeping on making unwanted noise and vibrations, it will normally irritate a consumer. So to avoid that, it should always have minimum noise and vibration. If it is not there itself, it is a better product. So it will not produce any hazards. So some unavoidable cases are such as trimmers, etc. Or we are hairdressing and all. We are using such an instrument, but still its noise are kept to a minimum so as not to irritate the consumer and also the barber itself, okay, or the consumer itself. It must not irritate them. So for that purpose, it is kept at a minimum. The noise and vibration are kept at a minimum. Then to ensure productivity or manufacturability, we have to ensure its manufacturability. So what is manufacturability? So it must be multiply manufactured in large amounts so as to generate profit. So that is the main purpose. So if you are manufacturing a product, it must not be present at an inventory itself. It must go from the inventory to the market to the consumer, and the consumer should again purchase this product so as to replenish the product that is being created. So it depends upon the products. So there are daily products such as toothpaste, toothbrush. These are all we are using daily. Okay, maybe shaving cream, shaving foams, soap, combs, etc. Okay, these are we are using it daily, and when using it daily, there is a chance of it finishing off or even being fatigued, or during multiple operation it will be beyond repair. So these all can occur during multiple use, and these daily objects has to be used again by the consumer. So consumer needs or demands are very high for these products, and they have to be manufacturability. So they have to be manufactured to keep the demand alive. And for that purpose, the design has to ensure manufacturability. And that is one of the main purpose. So if you are looking for manufacturability um, in the case of vehicles and all, so you know how large the vehicles and all is there. So according to that, the demand of the vehicles increases. So nowadays, it is the technology is improving for the vehicles to be converted into electric vehicles. So once electric vehicles are being replaced, when electric vehicles replace the present engine vehicles, then the demand of engine vehicles decreases and the demand of electric vehicles increases. That is how the demand takes place. So according to that, the company switches. So if it is producing engine now, if once electric vehicles come into demand, the IC engine section or that department will be avoided by the company, and then it will be transferred to the electric side. So that is how they switch over. But for what purpose they are switching over? They are switching over so that they can ensure manufacturability. So they have the machines and such for producing the vehicle, and they have to ensure that they can produce more vehicles. And one of the way to do is that to produce an electric vehicle. So that is how they ensure the manufacturability. So even if one product's life is over. Okay. What is the next point? To allow standardization in all the components. So various components can be present in a, it can be a single component. So in the case of safety pins, slides, etc., we are using single components. So there is only one component, you have to only design in such a way. So if you are taking a pen, there are multiple components, right? A pen has a cap, it has a front portion that is a screw, and the top portion also a screw. Inside there is a refill, and the refill has a nib. Inside it has an ink. Then the body of the pen may have a sticker, or it may have a grip like rubber inside. So various components are present, and for that it is standardized. So if you look at all the pens of a particular company itself, all the components are in the same dimension, same size, same length, same height, etc. So it is standardized across across the company. Or if you are taking another company also, it is almost in the same dimensions, maybe a bit thicker or maybe a bit longer, but it is not too long. Okay, so the purpose of the pen is always the same. So various components are standardized. So in the case of engine, while you come to the engine, all the engine uses one component called piston. So piston is present in every vehicles, and hence it is present in every companies. But the design of the piston varies a little according to the company, but still a component is standardized. A component called the piston is standardized across all the companies. So that is what is known, but one of the objective in design function. And next is to have minimum number of components. So if you are creating an object, you have to perform the function with minimum number of components. So what happens if you are using more components? The design will be complex. So if you think of a pen having multiple components, so if the consumer needs, if you know that we in today's market, refills are available for the pen itself. So when refills are available, the consumer itself can replace the refill without any external help. And for that purpose, the pen is simplified enough so that the consumer itself can repair it. Okay, so that is how it is simplified. But when you come to a mobile phone and all, specialized technicians has to be there to uh, change the components or to repair or service the set item. And for that purpose, it is not simplified enough for the consumer itself. So once it is simplified, the customer will be satisfied as such, so that he itself can do various services. But for a component like laptops, mobiles, etc., that is not possible, and hence we have to give it to a technician. So that is another objective of a design function. Then comes the design should provide a repair and a replacement at low cost. So they have to give maintenance or service at low cost, so as the consumer, in the case of a mobile phone laptops, can provide for maintenance. So if it is much expensive, the consumer will not give the product, and we will not get sufficient service maintenance costs for the long run of the company. And for that purpose, so one of the objectives should always be to lower the cost to the appropriate rate for the design and repair and replacement. Okay, and nowadays, warranties are provided so as the consumer can freely repair, but we are still making a payment to the company, and the company takes that payment for the long run of the product. So that includes replacement and repair of the said product. Okay. Next is the development process in a product. So what are the development products process? So the first one is on conception. So in conception, the idea is generated. So first the consumer, we are going to the consumer, we are taking the feedback of the consumer, and the consumer's needs are categorized. And from that consumer needs, we are formulating an idea. Okay, formulating a problem, and that problem is solved in idea generation. So various people will be there, maybe a department of people, a group of people, and they brainstorm and they come up with an idea to solve the problem. And there will be multiple problems. So an object can serve multiple functions. So basic function, secondary function, required secondary function, unwanted required secondary, unwanted secondary function. So these are all functions, and these functions it can provide or it can perform, a product can perform, and to perform that various ideas are generated. So that is the first process under designing a product or product development. Then next comes the acceptance. So in acceptance, at this stage, the new product viability is investigated and draft specifications are evaluated. So it has to be drafted to the next department for design, for prototyping. And for that, first we have to accept this. So we are giving this department handles the idea, and then they find the relevant designs, and they are then submitting the design to a higher post person, and this person reviews, or this department reviews if the product is serving the function and how long it can do it. And if they want any changes, they inform the below department to perform that changes and then bring it again. So multiple times the idea generated will be evaluated, and then only finally it will be accepted. Once accepted, then we are executing. So in execution, we are developing the product. We are going to create the product, and for creating it, we are providing a preliminary design stage. So this is called the term preliminary design stage. So here you can see an idea is generated, and then we are executing it. And when we are executing it, we are producing the product. Okay, we are creating the product. And for creating the product, a working model maybe, or a clay model, etc. So in a future vehicle, we are providing a clay model. We will provide a clay model of how it looks and the sufficient thing. Then we will create a working model, and under working model, we are then creating various tasks. So there will be a crash test, there will be an aerodynamics test. So various tests will be done in a vehicle itself. So such is the stage in under execution. Then comes to translation. So in translation, once it is created, under translation it is then tested. So various products are created and experimented upon, and after experimentation it is then evaluated for various failures, or failures under different functions. So if it is failing under a particular function, it is then repaired and resolved, and then manufactured again, and then still it is under translation. After multiple operations or multiple tests, it is then finalized under translation itself, and then comes pre-production. So under pre-production, a beta version of the product, or the supposedly for a few consumers we are producing the product, and then these are given to the particular consumers, and these consumers then use the product and check for whether the functions are being utilized or the functions are created. The functions created is apt. So they check that, and then once it is approved. So if they are stating various defects, these defects are also then incorporated, and then again it is translated, and after translation again it is given to set users, and after that they will, if they are giving a rate of approval, then it is gone under production and then finally into the market. So I will wind up today's session.